Congratulations! You've just purchased Power, the most innovative game of the 20th century, combining skills and tactics in a global battle setting. If you'll take the next 10 minutes and review this tutorial, you'll increase your enjoyment of the game significantly. And more importantly, you'll start out with a decided power edge over your opponents. And after all, isn't power what it's all about? Let's get started.
The object of the game is to capture each of your opponent's flags. You'll do that by amassing superior armed forces and eventually invading their headquarters where the flag is located. Only a foot soldier or regiment can actually capture a flag. While you may invade the opponent's headquarters with superior force, unless and until the invading party has at least one lowly grunt, the flag remains standing, even if all the other defenses are captured. The power board is divided into 4 countries, surrounded by sea lanes and dotted with 5 islands. Each area of the board, water or land, is also divided into numbered grids. The 4 corners of the board are home to 4 separate headquarters where you'll house your armies, and each headquarters has a reserve space where reserve troops will wait to be called upon. The game is played by 2, 3, or 4 opponents and has a 2-hour maximum time limit. A 3-minute sand timer provided with each game times each round. Players have up to 3 minutes to write down a maximum of 5 moves per round. When the timer is turned over, all 4 players write down their moves by designating which piece they want to move, which grid or position on the board it will be moved from, and which grid it will be moved to. Note the limitation on each piece's movement. Infantrymen can only move 2 spaces, small tanks 3, fighter planes 5, and destroyers just 1. Also note all pieces except aircraft must stop at the islands, and no piece, including aircraft, can move from one country to another except by way of the islands. In the case of planes, moving from country A to B must take them directly over an island, and the island counts as one of the 5 maximum spaces they may move in one round. When the 3-minute time expires, each player follows their written commands and moves accordingly. Game pieces have restrictions on their movements in much the same way that chess pieces are limited. They also have differing power values. When 2 or more pieces occupy the same grid at the end of a round, the army with the highest point total in that square wins the battle, and the loser's pieces are then transferred to the winner's reserve arsenal. They are then exchanged for similar pieces in the winner's color. As the game opens, each player begins with the same number and type of pieces. 2 infantrymen with a power value of 2 each, 2 fighter planes, power value 5 each, 2 light tanks, power value 3 each, and 2 small destroyers, power value 10 each. Within a few rounds, battles ensue, and pieces are captured, changing the balance of power. You can increase your personal power several ways. The first is obvious. Capture your opponent's pieces as a result of combat, eventually capturing their flag, and you receive all of their existing forces. The second way is through the process of exchanging pieces. When you get 3 pieces of the same kind and rendezvous them on the same grid, you may then exchange them for a piece of superior power. For example, 3 fighters with a power value of 15 may be exchanged for a bomber, power value 25. 3 small tanks, power value 9, may be exchanged for a heavy tank with a value of 30. 3 foot soldiers, a power value of 6, may be exchanged for a regiment with a value of 20. The other exchanges and values are listed on the board as a reminder. A third way of accumulating power is by earning power points. Those little lightning bolts are awarded at the end of every round when you safely maintain one of your playing pieces in an opponent's country. A maximum of 3 power, 1 for each country per round. In this case, for example, Red has pieces safely in 2 countries, so Red picks up 2 power points. Those points may be used to buy additional game pieces with 1 bolt equivalent to 1 power value. An infantryman would then cost 2 power points, a small tank 3, etc. Power points need not be used immediately. They can be saved for future exchanges. Let's look at a typical round. The timer is turned over, and each player begins to write the commands on their pads. At the end of the 3 minutes, the pads are placed face down, and the players must make the moves that they scripted. There is conflict in one grid. White loses a tank and an infantryman to black. There are no other conflicts in this round, but all 4 players have forces in opposing countries and so pick up power points accordingly. Each time you move a piece or make an exchange, it counts as one of your 5 commands per round. For example, 3 power for 1 tank is 1 move. 3 for another tank is 2 moves. 3 powers for a third tank is 3 moves. Combining all 3 tanks for a heavy is 4 moves. And a heavy from reserve to headquarters counts as the 5th move. No pieces may be moved from reserve to headquarters and then on to the battlefield in the same round. As in real life, reserve troops must spend time at headquarters to become battle ready before being deployed. In the case of power, they can be moved out in the next round at the earliest.
Well, that's a crash course in how the game of power is played. There's also a 2- and 3-person version, so check the printed rules enclosed for the variations for that game. If you've made it this far through the tutorial, you're probably ready to begin playing, so have at it. If, however, you'd like to spend just a few more minutes with us, check out Section 2 of this tape. It deals with tips, tactics, and warnings, and it gives you just a little bit more insight into the game of power. If not, enjoy the next couple of hours and view Section 2 when the need arises. Until then, let the game begin.
Tactic number 1 deals with options. While you may make up to 5 commands in a single round, you need not use all 5. There may be times when your players are positioned such that a single move is advantageous to you. Also, while each piece has a maximum number of grids it may travel, it is not necessary to use that maximum. Don't be predictable, and remember, the rules of power only require you to make at least 1 move per round. Tip number 2 concerns a phenomenon known as a bounce. When opposing forces of equal value occupy the same grid at the end of a round, it's a stalemate. The pieces are then bounced back to their original grids. Usually there's no consequence, but sometimes another piece of greater value has moved into the grid of origin, and then the bounced piece can be captured by the stronger piece. Tip number 3 deals with the Mega Missile. The Mega Missile costs 100 power units to acquire. It may be used only once and targeted to any sector of the board, including reserve or even your own headquarters, to destroy an invading force. It destroys everything in the sector it hits except a flag. The Mega sounds like a great weapon, but closer scrutiny reveals its high price tag, one-time use, and lack of any defensive power value makes it a weapon of great discretion. A smart player will use the Mega sparingly. Tip number 4 is a caution. It's very risky to move your pieces out of range. That is, within 2 moves of defending your flag. Remember, destroyers and cruisers can only move 1 sector per round. So if you get them too far from headquarters, you could be placing your flag in danger. Tip number 5 can give you an early power advantage. Many opponents fly fighters into other countries in an attempt to gain early power points. Remember, fighters have a range of 5 grids, so placing your pieces with a power value of more than 10 points in grids 0, 3, or 5 can often succeed in picking off 1 or more opposing fighters. Tip number 6 is an essential skill. Know your kill squares. Grids 4, 6, 7, and 8. These grids are within the striking distance of your infantry, which are limited to a maximum of 2 grids per round, but are the only pieces capable of capturing an opponent's flag. Positioning these pieces in the kill squares is the first step to the fall of an opposing headquarters. Tip number 7 sounds simple, but is often overlooked. Defend your flag. In the excitement of attacking an opponent, don't forget to leave enough strength at home to repel another force. A common mistake is to leave less than 25 power value at home when an opponent has a bomber with a value of 25 within range. Tip number 8, likewise, is often overlooked. Know the power value of your attacking force. It's easy to lose count of all your pieces, but a miscalculation of just one power value can be disastrous. Tip number 9 is the nuisance approach. One infantryman used wisely can be a nuisance to an opponent and a threat to his or her flag. As the only piece that can capture a flag, the whereabouts of infantry should always be paid close attention. Tip 10 should be employed whenever the urge arises. Ask to inspect an opponent's command pad occasionally to ensure that all moves are being properly listed. We're not suggesting anyone would cheat, but power does have a tendency to corrupt.